There's a phrase that runs through the oldest sacred texts on earth, a land flowing with milk and honey. For most modern readers, it sounds poetic, aspirational, the image of a paradise nobody actually lives in. But the people who first wrote those words meant it literally. They weren't describing a fantasy. They were describing the foods that kept them alive, concentrated, portable, dense with everything a body needed to walk for days under hard sun. The ancient world didn't have the word superfood, but it had a small handful of foods so valuable that they appear in scripture after scripture, in story after story, sometimes as currency, sometimes as medicine, sometimes as the last meal before a long journey. We still eat some of them. We've mostly forgotten what they were really worth. Here are 4 of them, and what people once trusted them to do. Start with the one that survived. Raw honey. Archaeologists exploring Egyptian tombs have found sealed jars of honey more than 3,000 years old. And the honey inside was still edible, not preserved, not crystallized into uselessness. Edible. Honey is one of the only foods on Earth that, when stored properly, essentially never spoils. Low water content, naturally acidic with trace amounts of hydrogen peroxide released by an enzyme the bees add to the nectar. Bacteria simply cannot survive in it. The Bible mentions honey more than 50 times. The promised land was flowing with it. Samson took it from a lion's carcass. John the Baptist lived on it in the wilderness. And in households across the ancient world, raw honey wasn't a sweetener. It was medicine. It was packed onto open wounds to prevent infection, used to soothe burns, given to the sick to ease throats and coughs. Wars were waged for control of honey-producing regions. Modern research has confirmed what every ancient culture intuitively knew. Raw, unfiltered honey carries antibacterial and antifungal properties, helpful enzymes, trace minerals, and antioxidants. The thin golden liquid in a market jar today is almost unchanged, the same substance that healed soldiers 2,000 years ago. The next one was the food that armies marched on: dates. The date palm appears in scripture more than 50 times. It was so central to ancient Middle Eastern life that the city of Jericho was known as the City of Palms. Caravans carried dates across deserts because almost nothing else, pound for pound, packed so much portable energy. A single handful provides quick natural sugars, potassium, magnesium, fiber, iron, and B vitamins. Roman soldiers were issued dates as field rations. Bedouin travelers crossed entire deserts on them, sometimes for weeks at a time. There's an old saying across the ancient Middle East that a person can live on just dates and milk indefinitely. That isn't strictly true, but it's remarkably close. The date is one of the most nutritionally complete fruits ever cultivated, and unlike almost any other fruit, it dries naturally on the tree, requiring no preservation, no refrigeration, no special handling. It simply waits, ready to eat, for as long as you need it. Modern athletes have rediscovered dates as natural pre-workout fuel for exactly the same reason ancient travelers relied on them. Quick, dense, sustained energy in something you can carry in a pocket. The third one might be the most dramatic story in the Bible: lentils. In the book of Genesis, a young man named Jacob trades a bowl of red lentil stew to his exhausted brother Esau, and in exchange takes Esau's birthright, the entire inheritance of a firstborn son. The story has been told for 3,000 years, and it carries a quiet message most modern readers miss. The food in that bowl had to be valuable enough, life-giving enough, that a starving man would trade away an entire future for it. And it was. Lentils were one of the foundational foods of the ancient world. Carbon-dated lentil remains have been found in archaeological sites going back nearly 9,000 years. They were the protein of the poor and the wealthy alike, high in iron, folate, fiber, and complete amino acids when eaten with grain. They cooked quickly, they stored for years. They thrived in dry, marginal soil that nothing else would grow in. For households without livestock, lentils were the closest thing they had to meat. The world has changed in countless ways since Jacob's stew. The bowl itself hasn't. The same simple combination of lentils, water, salt, and spice sustained entire civilizations, and still does, quietly, today. And the fourth one, most people have never tasted: carob. The carob tree grows across the eastern Mediterranean, producing long, dark, leathery pods filled with sweet, nutritious pulp and small, hard seeds. There is an old scholarly debate around a single phrase in the New Testament: the description of John the Baptist eating locusts and wild honey in the wilderness. Some traditions hold that locusts here refers not to the insect but to the carob pod, sometimes called St. John's bread for exactly this reason. Whether or not that interpretation is correct, what's certain is that carob pods kept travelers, soldiers, and the poor fed for centuries across that region. They are naturally sweet, rich in fiber, calcium, and antioxidants, and require no cooking or preparation at all. You simply break the pod open and eat the pulp. The carob's small, uniform seeds also carried a strange second legacy. They are so remarkably consistent in weight that ancient traders used them to measure precious stones and metals. And that practice gave us a word we still use today, the carat. Every diamond ever weighed, every gold ring ever stamped, traces back to a small seed in a forgotten pod most modern shoppers walk past without noticing. 4 foods. 4 small lifelines that carried civilizations across deserts, through hard winters, and into the pages of the oldest books we still read. Honey that healed wounds. Dates that walked beside armies. Lentils that fed kings and beggars alike. A pod whose seed gave us the way we still measure precious things. What unites them isn't their place in scripture. It's that none of them were ever just food. They were the dense, portable, dependable answers to the oldest question a household ever asks. What do we eat to stay alive? That's the quiet thread we keep pulling on at Forgotten Land. The practical wisdom hiding inside what people once treated as ordinary. There's plenty more of it waiting, a little further in.